Begin the current Daf Mesechtes Pesachim Daf Peites. Begin on the bottom of Peites and the base. Finalize up the bottom of the Amid. Where the Gemara continues in the related discussion of the previous Daf, where we had a halacha regarding if someone tells a slave to shech the Korban Pesach, what should he bring? A lamb or a goat? What happens if the slave forgets? What happens if the master also forgets? So remember the last case we had a teaching by Abaye that says Lo Yishanu, we didn't learn this halacha that he's not going to have to bring a Pesach Sheni only if they forgot after the blood was already thrown. But if they forgot before the blood was even thrown, then there wasn't even a good Pesach because the Zrika was puzzled. There was one version that said that he didn't say that halacha of Leishanu on the halacha of Mishnah. Rather, he said it on the Brisa, and the Gemara is going to go and elaborate on that Brisa regarding the halacha of when there was 5 people's hides of the Korban Pesachs, and subsequently they found that one of the hides, a mum, what the halacha is going to be with those 5 Korban Pesachs that we said that they have to burn them because you don't know which one's the apostle, but they're all going to be exempt from the Pesach Sheni. The Gemara is going to discuss how can you say they're all exempt from bringing a Pesach Sheni. Today's daf. Something to discuss in today's daf are, as we mentioned, the hides of 5 Korban Pesachs that got mixed up. And they discovered a mum on one of them. That we say that all of them are exempt from Pesach Sheni. That's going to be the Gemara's discussion on why that is. Then we discuss in the next mission, the father announces that the first of his children to Rabbi Shloimy will be registered on his carbon, and that brings it to the general discussion of Breira. How could he say that the one, whoever's going to come first, that the Korban Pesach was on him? How do you know that it was on him? Then we discussed regarding the next mission of how many people can be registered on a single Korban Pesach, and until what point people can register and withdraw from a Korban Pesach. Then we discussed in the next mission, a group can force a member to eat separately if he's invited his own guest. And that brings the Gemara's discussion regarding, let's say, what's the person that's eating more than his portion? Can you say, hey, Hezachan, we don't want you to eating more than the rest of us. And the Gemara ends up with a discussion which goes into the next stuff regarding money received for sharing the carbon, that those monies are chulin, and how is that so? Some of the key terms the concept discussed in today's daf was called Meisha Pesach. Meisha Pesach is that animal or those funds were designated for a Korban Pesach, but ultimately they're not brought as a Korban Pesach. Then what do you do with those leftover funds or that animal? So it's brought as a shlamim. However, unlike a normal shlamim, it can only be eaten for one day and one night. And we'll see that's significant in today's daf. Smicha is the owner leans his full weight with his hands on the animal's head before shchita. It katra to the Korban Pesach, and that also comes in today's daf. Breira is the halacha of retroactive clarification, which we mentioned many times. So we begin the current daf. Again, like we said, we're going on the Brisa, Amamar, going back on the Brisa that spoke about regarding that the hides of 5 Korban Pesach got mixed up, and then they discover a mum on one of them. The halacha is you got to burn them all because they might all be possible. However, none of them have to bring a Pesach Sheni. As the Gemara says, Amamar, 2 malas of Pesach Sheni, the exempt from bringing a Pesach Sheni. So the Gemara says, how could that be? One of the 5 definitely not fulfilled this obligation because had a Yabelas, had a word as a mum. So how can you say that all don't have to bring Pesach Sheni? Says the Gemara, Mishom delay afshur, because it's not possible. Meaning 4 of them are they fulfilled the obligation, and even the 5th one, what are you going to do? How is he going to bring a Pesach Sheni? Hey Chalev, what should he do? As the Gemara explains, and goes through different options back and forth. If you're going to tell me, okay, let each one bring a Korban Pesach, meaning because of the suffix, maybe you're the guy who didn't fulfill your obligation. You can't. Because the 4 that already filled their obligation, you're bringing an unconsecrated animal. It's not a real Korban Pesach. Bring that to the Azara. 4 of them out of the 5 already did it. And I'll bring chul to the Azara. So what are you going to say? Okay, let them all chip in for 1 Korban Pesach, and let them all bring that one, so that one will be for the one. Says the way you can't do that. Because then the Pesach Nechel Shleilim Livik, they come out, the Korban Pesach eaten not for those who are numbered, and meaning those who already fulfilled their obligation, they cannot be registered on the Korban Pesach. 4 of them cannot be registered, and they are. And it's Nechel Shleilim Livik. So you can't have them all bring it together, the Korban Pesach. Says, wait a second, hi Mike. Nesi kol chad minayu pescha. What do you mean? Let each one bring his own Korban Pesach. A Pesach Sheni. V'nisni v'neina. And let them stipulate and say like this. Ididi ba'mum. If the first one, that original one, is the one that had the blemish was mine, Haide Aisi Asher, the one I'm bringing now, a month later in Pesach Sheni, now the Pesach will be a Korban Pesach. V'ididi tamim, as mine was unblemished, Haide Aisi Asher, the one I'm bringing now b'shlam should be a shlam. So let him make it tonight, a stipulation. And then each one will do that all tonight. Says the Gemara, lo yafsh is not possible. It's going to take Testament out. Because there's the chaz v'sheik, the breast and the thigh of a Korban shlamim. The kahanim eat that part. Now, you can't give it to the kohen because each and every one, maybe his is the one that the korban pesach comes out you're feeding it to the kohen. Again, who is not counted on it. The korban pesach has to be eaten specifically l'menuyev. So you can't do that either. Okay, says the Gemara, wait a second. Let each and every one of them bring a kohen ba'adeh. One kohen to be counted on his korban pesach with the kohen. So that the kohen will eat from the chazal b'shleik. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Hi, kohen, hechadami. What's his kohen status? Idav Pesach, if he already brought in Pesach, reached on Nisan already come Pesach, Delmahai Pesach, or maybe this is a Pesach. And it's a Pesach Nef Shalom. Again, the Pesach is eaten by someone who's not counted on it, because he already had a Korban Pesach. Vidul Pesach, and if he didn't bring a Korban Pesach the first time around, the Mishlamu, maybe you're the 4 and the 5 that already brought the first time, this is Shalom. Who?
Let the Kohen eat the Chozeh V'shoik. Let them bring a Kohen who didn't make Pesach Rishon, and over here let the Kohen eat the Chozeh V'shoik.
Well, so this
if it's Shlomim, then he ate Shlomim. If it's a Pesach, then he ate Pesach.
He did not fulfill his obligation?
No, let him bring a Kohen who did not make.
So then when how's he bringing Pesach Sheni?
Because he was B'derech HaChoyker.
No, but now he's not bringing.
But he has an issue.
No, but if he's going to eat this as a Korban Pesach, he's not bringing his own Korban Pesach Sheni. It's a Shlomim.
We're talking about here by the
Pesach Sheni. So you tell me that this guy who didn't have it first time around, but now he's not having a Pesach Sheni, now you might be the Shlomim.
Yes, he will eat also kazais from.
Oh, so that's the Gemara's going to ask that too. But now we're in the middle of the Gemara's discussion. The Gemara says, built in the Shlomahu, delivered Pesach. Made the Shlomim, and now he's not bringing Pesach Sheni. But then the Gemara says, no, I'll tell you what you should do. No, and the problem would be because if it is a Pesach, he's going to be from another Pesach, then he's doing
two. No, you cannot eat more than a kazais.
No, you can't eat from another Pesach Sheni. You can't eat
from this one.
But then if it's a Shlomim, then you're not
going to eat the Chozeh V'shoik from this one.
But then if it's a
Shlomim, then you didn't eat.
If it's a Pesach,
so he is a Chozeh V'shoik and a kazais from the rest.
But he can't because if this is a Pesach, he can't eat from another Pesach Sheni.
Can eat from 2 animals.
Can't have 2 Pesachs. Can be Nimna Shnei Pesachim.
But he's eating from this one, only from this one.
So then it might be a Shlomim, and he didn't.
Maybe it's a Shlomim only. Okay.
Right, but then the Gemara is going to really ask what you're asking now. Okay. The Gemara says, okay, let them do like this. Let all 5 of them bring a Pesach Sheni and bring one kain. They're chipping in for the same kain. The Le'ovet Pesach didn't bring him Pesach yet. And then let them all count him in their chavra, in their group of Karban Pesach, the Manavshach. One of them did not bring Korban Pesach. And with that one, he'll eat the Chazar V'Shek. In other words, he'll eat the Chazar V'Shek of all of them, and 4 of the 5 are Shlomim, and one of them is the Korban Pesach. So Manashach, he'll be Yitzeh his Chiv with that one. Says the Gemara, okay, you're right. That can't be the reason why we cannot bring a Pesach Sheni. Ella, the reason why is Mishum Dekub Mayit B'Chil Shlam. Forget about the Kohen. The problem is because he's diminishing the time that you eat a Shlamim. Because the Ila Pesach, Liyam Alayla, Korban Pesach, he's only for a day and a night. Vila Shlamim, Shlayim Alayla, Achel Shlam, he's eating for 2 days and 1 night. Where he's going to eat them not all for a day and a night, and you're going to burn the leftovers, and if it's a Shlamim, it's not yet nice, it comes out you're burning kosher that are still kosher. So because of that, you can't, that's not a good option to go ahead and bring a Pesach Sheni if you're not really mechuyev, because there might be a Shlamim, and then you're burning it before it's time.
Make sure there's no noise.
Right. Right. And the Gemara is concerned that that's going to happen, and you're going to be burning it too early. But then the Gemara asks a different question. When they say Moisra Pesach, bring what's called Moisra Pesach, which you should originally stipulate. But they might say like this: if the first time around mine was the blemished one, so I should not be Pesach. I'm bringing now it should be a regular Korban Pesach. If mine was originally the unblemished, I had a regular Korban Pesach. Now how do I say hash the Shlamim? The one I'm bringing now should be a Shlamim de Moisra HaPesach, which is the leftovers of Pesach, which is itself sacrificed as a Shlamim, but it's still limited to be like a Pesach that is Nechaliyim V'Lalech. It's only eaten for a day and a night. And therefore you're not really diminishing from its manachila. So it could be a Shlamim that's only eaten for a day and a night, and therefore Melanavshach, whether it's a Pesach or a Moisra Pesach, it'll be eaten for the right amount of time. But then the Gemara says, what you think you could go ahead and designate initially to have a Moisra Pesach? In other words, how could you make up a Moisra Pesach, but the designation of Pesach never took effect on this animal that because you already fulfilled your obligation, so you don't have any Moisra Pesach? Meaning the Gemara is saying the Moisra Pesach is leftovers of Pesach. You can't create a Moisra Pesach. So the Gemara says, okay, you're right, you can't create one, but why don't you say B'nitru B'nesim Moisra Pesach? Find people that have left over from Pesach, whether it be an animal or the funds that were supposed to use for Korban Pesach, and buy an animal from those funds and stipulate in every single one on his own. This is in mind with the blemish one. This is a Pesach. If not, then it should be the Meiser Pesach, which is Shlomim, which will be eaten for the Yom V'Layla. So find somebody that had leftover, which find a true, genuine Meiser Pesach, and then it'll be either you can use it for Pesach proper, and if it's not, it's Meiser Pesach, which is Shlomim, but it's only for a day and a night, so that'll be perfect. So the Gemara says, you're right. Okay, so the Gemara says the reason why it's not going to help is b'shem smicha, is because of leaning on the animal. Because the ilu pesach lebay smicha. Korban Pesach, you're not supposed to lean on it. If you don't have to, it's actually doing avoid b'kachim that's forbidden. Ilu meiser by smicha, but the meiser Pesach, which is essentially a shlamim, requires smicha. And again, you can't do smicha because maybe it's a Pesach and you can do avoid b'kachim. So because of that, since we don't know what's shlamim Pesach, you're going to be stuck. Because either you're not doing what you're supposed to, or you're doing something that's forbidden. So therefore you can't bring this Meiser Pesach outside. So the Gemara says, okay, Hatenach Kavan Anashim. This only works very well if it's the one who's bringing the Pesach Sheni are men. But Kavanas Nashim, the Kavanas are women who don't need smicha ever. Michael, then what are you going to say? That's not going to be different during the Shalom and the Pesach. So the Gemara says, you're right. A second reason. Shema Tanis. It's because of the gifts of blood that are put on the Mizbeach. The Ilu Pesach, whereas by the Korban Pesach, Matanach is done in one shot. It's called 2, that's 4, which you do it on the two corners that are opposite from each other, which ends up getting the 4 sides. Since they're different, so then again you're stuck. What are you going to do? You don't know if it's Shlom or Pesach. Says what's the difference? Who cares? But now the Mishnah Zochim says whatever put on the Adam is Beach, which includes the Pesach and the Shlamim. If you ended up putting in one gift, keeper it atone. So then just do it one time, and then if it's Pesach good, and then even Shlamim, you'll fulfill your obligation. So the Gemara says rather a third reason. Mishum the ilu Pesach, whereas by Pesach it's b'shvicha. How do you put the blood on the mizbeach? There's different ways. By the Korban Pesach, you pour it from the bowl onto the wall of the mizbeach by opposite the foundation of the mizbeach. Because we learn that. Where do we know that you do the matanas dam of Pesach? We learn from the pasuk with dam zevachech yishavach, as the Gemara says in Zvachim, the lamed zayin of the base. Yishavach means just to pour it. Whereas Vilu Shlom Bezrika, by Kom Shlom, you have to spray it, meaning it says spraying, which is that you stand at a distance and you throw the blood from the bowl to the Mizbech. Because as Rashi says, only by the Chatas do you do Matan Etzba, which you actually put your finger, but all of the Karbanos, it says to throw it. And you throw it opposite the corner until it reaches to the wall, the western wall and the southern wall, and therefore there's a difference between Pesach and Shlom. Pesach you have to pour, and Shlom you have to spray. So the Gemara says, what's the difference? What time will in the Brisa? Call on the Tan Mizrika, whatever has to be sprayed, should the sun Mishricha, if you poured it, you have to fulfill the obligation, which as we said regarding the previous answer. So the Gemara says, no, Imid the Kavrina, when you say that idea is the eat oven. If you did, then after the fact you fulfill the obligation. Like at Chilinam, you think even initially allowed to do that? No, you're not allowed to, and then you cannot create such a situation. And that's why, that explains Allah in the previous Daf, of the 5 hides that we find, one of them a blemish, you say, they're all not bringing a Pesach Sheni. 4 of them because they really fill obligation, 1 because you have no bread, you have no choice, you don't have an option because you can't bring it out tonight of a shlamim because of the fact that it's supposed to be done to the Navaida, and that's why they're all not bringing Pesach Sheni. Now we continue to Allah, the next Mishnah, again, continuing the theme really of this parak of Isha, which talks about that of counting someone on the Korban Pesach, like we said, the woman who's Korban that she counted on. Again, you got to be counted, you got to be on someone's list of a Korban Pesach. You can't just join the last second. And that's the famous kasha. How could you say Kol Difman, Yesef Yivsam, this is Tzish Feit, say the Nach, no one could come in. You got to be listed. And Mishnah says, someone says to his sons, look, I'm going to slaughter Korban Pesach. The first one to get to Yerushalayim sounds like that he's the only one that's going to be listed on the Korban Pesach. So says the Mishnah, but the first one that gets his head and the majority of his body, it's like you think like a marathon. The guy who gets his head and the majority of his body into Yerushalayim, he merits in his portion, and he merits his brothers with him. As the Gemara explained, what do you mean? How is his brothers listed with him? Didn't you say it's only the first guy who gets in? I was going to explain that the truth is the father already had counted all the kids. He's only doing it to get them excited, to motivate them. Who's going to be the first? Who's going to be first? Who's got to get upstairs first one? Give him a charge. It's his merit that everyone's going to get the ice cream, and that's really what the Mishnah is saying, as the Gemara explains. Shemami, no, it sounds like from the way you're saying the Mishnah, you said whoever's going to be the first one into Yerushalayim is going to be the one that's listed on the Korban Pesach. It sounds like Yesh Breira. Because the Gemara assumes right now that, okay, the only one that's going to be listed is that one. Now, which one? You don't know which son it is. It comes out that an hour before the Seder, this kid comes running in and says, I'm the first one. Oh, you were the one. He didn't know when he brought the Korban Pesach. Oh, Mozan, you say Yesh Breyer. Says Gemara Rabbi Yechon, he says no. Kedei Lazar's and the mitzvahs cover. He was just doing that to get them excited to do the mitzvahs, and the truth is the father had them all in mind. And they were all listed on that, whether you're the first one or whether the last one. As the Gemara says, Dekanami, seem to be precise because what does our Mishnah say? And the one who gets the first one, he merits his brothers in it with it too. Now, very well if you say that the father already counted them all on it originally, so it makes sense that they're all going to be included. If you say the father did not count them all initially, so even if you're going to say that you say Yesh Breyer and that first one who made it is the one that he did it for, but how are the other sons being included after the Shechita? There's no Breyer on them. The father said only the first one. So even though the son, that first one he gets it, how are the other brothers joining? But it's not. But the next mission is going to tell us, you could be counted on the Korban Pesach or withdraw yourself from it until the Shechita. After the Shechita, you can't be counted on the obviously that no, they were all counted originally. The father was just doing it to get them motivated. Because in the Brisa, that's because of his reasons. The Brisa brings Maisa was a story of the girls got there first before the boys. Then Tzabanis reason come out. The girls had alacrity. Uvana Shalom and the sons, they were the fayla, they were the lazy ones, they were the ones that the downtrodden, that the girls were more into it than the boys. But again, you see the idea that it was the idea of zrizis. It wasn't that they merited and the sons didn't merit it. It's they all merited because the father already had them all in mind. Halacha continues the next mission again, continuing this theme of minoi. Like we just mentioned this before. You can always be counted on the Korban Pesach as long as there's enough for an olive-sized piece of meat for every single one. Then you can still be counted. There's still room on this Korban Pesach. Now, Nimnin, if someone wants to be counted on, or if he wants to withdraw himself, from the Korban Pesach, you can do it until the actual Shechita. But once it's Shechit, then you cannot be listed on it. And you can't withdraw yourself anymore. Shimon, he disagrees on one of the points. He says, Adam. He says until the blood is thrown, as Rashi explains, even according to Shimon that disagrees, and he says you can do it even after the Shechita until the Zrika, that is only to withdraw yourself. But to be counted, he agrees that can only be done up until the Shechita. Now the Gemara asks that, what is the Mishnah teaching us when it says that as long as it's a kezayis for every single one, you can still list yourself and you can still withdraw yourself? We already know that halacha that you have to have a kezayis of the meat. What's my kamashman? So the Gemara kamashman, the chiddush is the avog of the of chabur, even if a whole chabur was listed on this Korban Pesach, you could go and list a whole different chabur, a whole different group on the same animal. Meaning, chiddush is that a whole chabur that was listed on the Korban Pesach, they can all withdraw from it, every last person. And the chiddush is could not like Rabbi Yehuda, who the Gemara brings later on in Tzaddik Tesman Aleph. He says at least one of the bnei chabura has to remain. One of the original members has to be there. Everyone else can switch, but one guy has to say that the chiddush of our mission is not like him. Everybody could withdraw, and you could have a whole different chabur list.
Because by the time there was a kezayis also, we don't know.
No, this is before the shechita. After yishchit, but that what's the chiddush that you can withdraw is because that you could take off the whole group. Now the Mishnah they continue it says nimnin the Mishnah sidena sheyishchit b'chulu, you could be counted or withdraw till it's slaughtered b'chulu etc. Because Rabbi Shimon says no up until the blood was thrown. Which Amabai he qualifies as machlekes is limashach. Machlekes was regarding withdrawing yourself. That's what Rabbi Shimon said up until the blood was thrown. Where because the Rabbanan, some of the Rabbanan hold only up until the shechita because the pasuk says in Shemais im yimad habayis. The pasuk there begins if the house is going to be diminished, which there's many different ways of interpreting this pasuk. The way our Gemara expounds it is if let's say you're coming to be memayit from the bayis, meaning you're coming to withdraw yourself from that chabura. It's miyois miseh. It's when there's still havaya to the seh, only then could you be excluding yourself, that to withdraw yourself. What does that mean? Michiyusi the seh. When the animal is still alive. Like hiyuse is like chiyuse, the hay and ches are interchangeable. Miyois miseh, michiyus miseh. When the animal is still alive, then it's mimad habayis, then you can go and diminish yourself. I mean, then you can remove yourself. Which is only until the shechita. Rabbi Shimon Sabbath, he learns mehaviyasa the seh. Haviyasa is like the goings about. Meaning, as long as you didn't finish yet the avoidance of the set, which the last avoidance is the zrika, up until then, you could be im yemen abayis, you could remove yourself So therefore, that's what you see until the Zrika. But to be counted on the Karban Pesach, that's regarding withdrawing yourself. Yima tabas. But regarding to be counted on it, the everyone agrees it's only up until that it's going to be slaughtered. Why? Because the Pesach says, with the numbers of the people, and then then it says to slaughter. So you see that you have to be counted on it before the Shechita. Says you could be counted on it, or you could be withdrawn up until it's slaughtered. He says, so you see clearly agreed. To be counted up until the Shechita. But to withdraw yourself, it's up until the blood is thrown. That's Haviyasid the Sat. I continue nowadays, we continue again on this halacha about minui, about counted on the Karban Pesach. Says the Mishnah, interesting halacha. Hamamane imoy, a little bit about social appropriateness. If someone accounts with him, meaning one of the Bnei Chabura that was listed on the Karban Pesach, we got a list of 20 people that we're joining this Chabura number 17, we're eating the Karban Pesach hit. This guy lists with himself Acher, a different person with him, Bechelkai, in his portion, without getting consent from the Bnei Chabura, without telling everyone else. He says, oh, you das the plus kimmit me. We got done as the Karban Pesach. Says the Mishnah, so the people of the Chabura, the people of the group, are permitted to give him his portion. He eats from his own portion. Meaning, he say, you and your new chaver, you take your portion, and you eat by yourselves. And they're going to eat by themselves. Now, which obviously this Tana holds that the Karban Pesach can be eaten in base chaburas. So you can take the same Karban Pesach and split it up. But they're allowed to tell him, you go to a different room, you take this guy with you, and we're going to eat by ourselves. Now, relating to this halacha, which will clarify this halacha, the Gemara brings the following question. B'nei Chabura, the people of a group that are eating the Karban Pesach together, shahayu yadav shalechem and yafas. This is a euphemism, which is he had good hands, which means to say, you have good eyes in baseball, good hands. Meaning he was very quick to eat. He has good hands. He's able to eat quickly. What's halacha? Could they tell him, look, take your portion and go out of here. Why? So they look at it. Do we say, Matzi Amalahu, he could tell them, listen, you accepted me to eat from you as much as I'm able to with the money that I paid. I'm a fair partner just like everybody else, and I could eat. I can essen, and I could eat. Maybe Matzul, they could tell him, look, this that we accepted you as one of the Chabura is the skuni zvicha, is to fix the carbon, meaning we didn't want there should be any nice, any leftover. We evaluated you than the way normal people are. So we figured, we don't want to leave over. It's a very difficult proposition, understand, you Karban Pesach, because you wanted to have enough, but you couldn't have too much because you're not allowed to have nicer. We figured, how many guys are making a kiddush? How many people are coming? We figured this is going to be the amount of food. You come to the kiddush, before you know half the kiddush is gone, the oil didn't even come yet, right? So we did it to fix this week. I dieted the achlat tveimanan with the intention of you're going to eat more than us. Like a blinik, we didn't accept you. So that's the question. Could they send them away and say, look, take your portion, catch and carry, take yours and go, and then leave us so we could eat normally? Someone says, let's bring it right from our Mishnah. The Mishnah said, if a different guy, one of the members, 20 members, or one guy takes another guy with him and says, come, you'll eat with me. So we said the people of Chabur are allowed to tell him that he should eat his own, they'll eat by themselves. Says the Gemara, my time, what's the reason why they could send him out and packing? Isn't it like a guy who eats very well, meant to say because he's eating more than his portion? So it's the same idea because he has another guy eating with him. So and that's the same idea. So everything to say that he could tell them, look, you accepted me. It's too late. I'm part of the membership. Now have a office. Then there should be like good hands. So obviously that they could tell him to go packing. In the Mishnah, obviously when the guy eats too much, you could also send him packing. So Amir just said, no, it's no right from our Mishnah. Why? Because Deyeshana, other people is different. Meaning, the people of Chabur, they're not willing to have all these other types of ideas and opinions in the Chabur. Because as Gemara explains, even the Inami even if those two people together eat the amount of how much a regular person normally would eat, and it's not even Kiyatayim Yafis. The guy eats, the two of them, these Dada mentioned, they barely know how to eat. We have to teach them how to eat. These guys, they eat less than how much one person normally eats. Still, Matzi Amalei. That's what the halacha, the Mishnah is telling us. You can still tell them, we don't want a fremda, we don't want a foreign person with us. Maybe he's going to hold us up with the meal. So it's not about eating too much. Even if they only eat like one person, they can still stop. And if there's no raya to the halacha of Yadayim Yafis regarding when the guy eats a lot, maybe that they cannot send the package. There's nothing to do with that. Here's about having another person. We don't want other people in Achabur. We have a VIP membership over here. You bring in some foreign guy, that they can send the package. Someone says, oh, okay, let's bring another raya from a brisa. The brisa says, and we quoted this before, on Peivav, Hasham she'ochel kazayis basim tzaratam. What happened? The waiter, he didn't chap. He's in the middle of preparing the carving station over here by the Korban Pesach, and he ate it kazayis basim at the side of the oven. Now he's stuck because he can't eat it b'meis b'kaimais. So he said, if he's smart, he stuffs himself there right over there, as the Gemara said in Peivav, because he can't eat it in two places. He's got to eat it over here. Eat your fill here because you're done with this afterwards. But in Ratzah b'nei Chabur, last time, we said if the rest of the Chabur want to do a favor to the waiter, so they come and they eat the meal right there. They bring all the tables. Come, let's bring the tables near the oven. We're eating over here, Rabbi Yehuda. But one thing is, we see Ratzah, and if they want to, yes. Lay Ratzah, if they don't want to, they don't have to. Why not? Let the waiter tell them, listen, you accepted me. Obviously, because of the tircha, they could back out and say, no, we didn't accept you to be part of the Suda. We got to move the whole thing. We decorated, the wives spent hours decorating the whole place. We got to eat near the oven over here. So here also, because of the laws that you're eating way more than one else, they could also back out. That's the Gemara. No, Shani Hasan, there by the waiter is different. Because the Amalek, they could tell him, keep complaining, whether we accept you, Adaita the Nitrachach, come on. You're the waiter. You should be putting in the effort for us. For us, putting effort for you, like many people who hire workers know this, that to say you were hired to make my job easier, not to make my job more difficult, that I got to work double now to also take care of you. Look, Ablina, that we didn't accept you, but you're the office where they didn't check after him. Obviously, they accepted him for however he's going to eat. And if there's no raya, a waiter is different because you hired him. But a regular guy joined the chabur, you didn't check and you didn't know I have a good appetite. That's your own fault. And therefore, no raya could be he can eat as much as he wants and you cannot send a package. So the Gemara says, okay, Teshmat bring another raya. B'nei Chabura, the people of the group, Shahayu Yodav Shalachim and Yavah. So here it's clearly this brisa explicitly answers the question. If one of the members had good hands, meaning he knows how to chap by the kiddush and eat as much as he wants to, Rishon Leima, they could tell him, look, Tochel Kechabetze, take your portion and leave. You don't belong over here. You're finishing everything before anyone gets the chance to even eat. Not only that, the Brisa says even a bigger chiddush. It says if you have 5 guys who all year round they join together and they eat a joint kiddush together, Rishon Leima, they could tell him, look, it's not worth it for us. Everyone chips in. We go out to eat. One night a month, and it's like you eat half of what everyone, double what everyone is eating. Take yours and go. So one thing is we see clearly that a guy eats more than what's normal. They can tell him, look, as a chayin, pack up and take your stuff because you're not sharing with us. Says what's this that the Bride is saying? Not only this. In other words, what's the bigger chiddush of the 5 guys who join together and make a joint kiddush together from the case of the Korban Pesach? What's the difference? So the Gemara says, we don't have to tell you meaning. I'm going to tell you about the Korban Pesach, the Matzah Amalei, because they could tell him, when did we accept you? In other words, we evaluated you, we only needed you as a number, because as to eat like a regular person, we were concerned that we're going to have nicer, so we invited you in. But if you're eating more than what's appropriate, that we didn't have you in mind for, it was only to eat the normal amount. But as we're saying, but even with the Chadra who gets together to have a joint meal together, did Savsa Ba'alma why are you inviting that other guy? There's no nicer. You guys are eating, going out to eat. So you could say it's for the companionship. And therefore, no matter how much you eat, you wanted his chavra. You wanted his companionship. Even so, Rishon Lemalai, still they could tell him that's the chiddush, even over there where there's no l'skuni zvicha, that Tulchal would say, no, we evaluated like a normal person, take your portion and go because you're eating way too much. And that's the chiddush. Even over there's no nicer, they could still send them packing and tell them that we can't share the meal with you. Now that's one version, but Ikadami, those who actually say, Holoi boilu. Actually, that was never the question. Most definitely we knew that if a guy eats too much, you could send the packing. The question was like this, in general, the people of the Chabur, can you force the people to divide, everyone to get their portion? Are they not permitted? Rather, you have to eat together as one. And you put the portions in front of them like all other meals. That was the question in general. Are you allowed to do that, to send everyone separate? That Tashema, big raya from the Bryce we just mentioned. We said, the people of Chabur, that one of them was eating too much. Rishon Lemele Tulcha would say they could tell him to take your portion and leave. The diak is the other b'yafar sin. Only if the guy is eating too much can you send him packing. He's a glutton. But in the b'yafar is light. But if the guy's not eating too much, then not shema no. Then obviously you're not permitted to separate people and split them up. It's only if a guy's eating too much can you send him away. But if a guy's not, you're not allowed to just. In normal circumstances, everybody has to eat from one large portion. You can't just separate for everyone. Everyone has a right to take as they're taking from the Korban Pesach. Now the Gemara illustrates these halachas with some vignettes. Rav Papa v'Rav Huna b'Reidav Yeshua adibur difta b'hadei adodi. They broke bread together, meaning they were eating a joint meal together. They went out to eat. In the time that it took Rav Huna Yeshua to eat one portion, he already ate 4 portions. You get that pupa platter. Before you know it's sigangid. What happened? Where the guy only took half a piece, this guy already had 4 pieces. Amalei said, "Plugly." He says, "Do me a favor. Let's just split it already now because I see it's Shvatz. By the way, I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna walk home hungry after this." So Amalei, Papa said, "Come listen. You already accepted me. It's too late. We already decided to split this together. We said we'll order the big portion was split. You already took me under the partner. It's too late." So Eis v'Klan to Yufta, but what happened is he asked him all those questions we just mentioned the Gemara before. Regarding the halacha of the Mishnah, that if a guy brought another guy with him, you see he could send the packing. The case of the waiter, that they could back out. But Vashani Kadishanina, but he answered all those questions. He said, no, waiter is different because he was hired to do the work, and bringing someone else is because he has another person, but a regular person, not a raya. It could be too late. But then he asked him Eisvei, he asked him from the halacha of the Bnei Chabura, from the reisha of that brisa, which said that if one guy is eating too much, he could say, take your portion, and he could send the packing. Amalei, Rav Papa said, no, Hasam Da'amri there, it's because they could tell him, Kikablin, when we accept you, l'skudei zvicha, it's because we want to fix the carbon, but we only evaluate it just like as a number to fill a spot, like how much a regular person would eat. But me, said Rav Papa, you wanted my companionship. You don't like going out to eat by yourself, so you want me to be here, so you accepted me no matter how much I'm going to eat. So that's not a riot from the reisha of that brisa. But then, eighth day, then he finally asked him from the sefer that brisa of Siboilas, which was, even if it's not for the Korban Pesach, even if it's just for companionship, you want to go out to eat with somebody, so you ask them to come with you, even over there we said if the guy's eating too much, you could send him packing. Oh, so then polygloid. So he split it up with them, he said, you got me. He says, okay, fine, they split up, doggy bags go, but then they eat on separate tables, you could eat shtat now, you're not shopping, you're not in competition anymore. Problem was, he didn't learn his lesson. Also, Rav Huna went, Arb Hadi Ravinas, he decided to get another friend to eat with. He went to Ravina. At the Rav Huna bring Yeshua Chada, the time it took him to eat what? He's a slow eater. Me and Rabbi Rabbi know this. He teaches me all the time. I'm the Rav Huna, he's the other one. So by the time he ate one, Ravina Tamanya, Ravina ate to 8. So Omar said, May and Papi will Chad Ravinas. I'll take 100 Papis, not one Ravina. This was a wrong move over here. That he definitely outate him, ratio of 8 to 1. The Gemara continues with this halacha about being counted on. Trambon brisa. It's like the halacha of the Mishnah. If someone counts another, meaning he's part of a chabur and he brings another guy on with him, a pescha, a chagigasa, and his korban pesach was korban chagiga, which refers to the chagiga yodalet, the one that's brought together with the korban pesach on erev pesach, which that is also has the same qualification as the pesach, which has to have l'chal hamanuyin, you have to be counted on it. So this is interesting halacha. We discuss this in great length in the next daf. But so this guy again, he was part of a korban pesach, or he had his own korban pesach, and he then gets someone else to be counted on, meaning machgel. Why not? I'm already having the korban pesach. Someone's looking. I need a chabur. He said, "Don't worry, join me." Okay, how much is it going to cost? Okay, for you, $500. I give you a bargain. So anyways, revach for him because anyways he has extra meat. The halach is Moshe b'yadai. The monies that he has in his hand, meaning that he took from this guy who's being added to the list, is chulin. As Gemara is going to explain later on next daf, that even though the one who is counted on, his money was already sanctified for the designation of korban pesach, and the one who's including him already had his korban pesach sanctified, and usually that's how's that going to work? What's going to be deconsecrated on what? Something has to be chulin transferring with the kodesh. The Gemara is going to explain on the next daf that still the monies will become deconsecrated on the korban pesach, and if the monies that he got from this guy is considered as chulin funds. But that's regarding the korban pesach. But let someone sells his korban oila, that someone else should get an atonement with it. Or b'shlamah where he sells his korban shlamim to someone else. He hasn't done anything, and therefore the oila is not going to be sacrificed for the second guy. Rather, it's only going to be working for the original owner of that korban. Umoy is kolshin, and the monies, no matter how much they are, whatever he's receiving in payment from that second guy for the oil and shlamim, even more than the value, yiplu nedava, it'll go for the nedava, which refers to the nedava of the tzibur, which there's certain boxes they were called shefaras because they were shaped like a shayv in the base of Mikdash, where they would take those funds, they would sacrifice what's called kayetz and mizbeach. When the mizbeach was idle, they would bring the desserts, they would bring these karbanas, and the Gemara later is going to ask, but what if the guy? That's what we're going to ask you right now. Since he didn't do anything, so why are the funds going to nedava the tzibur? You tell me that the sale is void. So that's what the Gemara says. Maybe tell me that they didn't do anything and he hasn't purchased the oil and the shlamim. So why are the funds going for the double? He says it's a penalty that Rabbanan penalized the purchaser, that he should not try to purchase a second time someone else's oil and shlamim, and therefore he caused a loss to himself because he should not have tried to purchase someone else's atonement. And as the Gemara says the same idea elsewhere, it's not the mice that steals the food, it's the hole that steals it. So it's not the seller that he was negligent, it was the purchaser because he caused the seller to be able to sell it, which is what the hole does for the mouse, and therefore it's his monies that are being penalized, and that's going to go to an adava to the base of Mikdash. And in my culture, and what does it mean, whatever the amount is avagav lebeshavel arba, and that even though let's say the value was only 4, v'yavali chamisha, and he gave him 5 for the carbon, he is even that extra, the Rabbanan penalized. In other words, we don't say, wait, if it was only worth 4 and he gave him 5, comes out that fifth amount was actually a gift and should not be penalized. That's what we're saying, no, that it's all going to be considered as part of the payment of the oil and the shlamim, and therefore that which he did inappropriately, it's all going to be penalized, and all of it is going to be considered as part of the nedava for the tzibur. So I'm going to discuss in today's Daf, in Pesachim Daf, pay test, was regarding 5 people, as we mentioned in the previous Daf, that their hides got mixed up, and you find a blemish. So he said they're all going to be exempt from Pesach Sheni. Why? Because you can't bring another Karban Pesach out of doubt. You're right, one of them has to really bring, but you can't. And the Gemara ultimately concludes because the Karban Pesach is b'shvich and the Shlom is b'zrika, so different, the avoid is different. So although after the fact, you're right, you would be yaitz if you did it b'shvicha, but since you don't know initially, you can't do that, and therefore you can't bring mitzad asafik, the Karban Pesach Sheni, and they will all be exempt. Remember to the next mission, if someone says to his sons, whoever's the first one, so the Gemara says no, it's not because of Breira, it rather was Lazar mitzvahs coming, he just wanted to get them excited, but they were all nimn love me'ikar. The next mission said that you could be counted on the Karban Pesach until Shchita. Regarding withdrawing, they said, so that's where we had a machlekes, which was the way we know for being counted was because it says b'nichsas, which means the number, and tachayim means the shchita. So that means you have to be counted before the shchita. But regarding the meshicha, the withdrawing yourself, that was machlekes because the pasuk says miyois miseh, that in yimen habayis, which is trying to diminish it by withdrawing yourself, it's miyois miseh. Now, what does the word miyois miseh mean? Either means achi yishlet, because mechiyusid deseh, which when it's still alive, or like Rabbi Shloimy says, until the zrika adam, because it means mehavayasai, which is until you're still busy with it, which is up until the last avodah, which is that of the zrika. Next Mishnah said that if somebody else joins another person with his chelik in the Karban Pesach, they could tell him to eat by himself. Now that's not a raya to the case of the Gemara of someone who has what's called yadav yafis, which the guy eats a lot, because the case of the Mishnah is different because that's deis, that's another guy. Maybe eating more is not a reason to be able to send him packing, but you send another guy, even if he eats. Even if the two of them don't even eat more than the regular guy, but we don't want another guy, might hold us up. We don't know about this guy's personality. It's also not a right in the case of the shamash, in the case of the waiter, because the case of the waiter, there only if they want to, they could eat next to him by the oven, but they don't have to because his job is to serve them, not them to serve him, in contrast to another guy, maybe that they can't send him packing. But ultimately, the third raya is from a brisa that says clearly that they are permitted to go ahead and separate from him, and even by sibaylis, which the chiddush is, you would have thought, okay, it's for companionship, and therefore you can't say because I'm eating more that you shouldn't be packing. No, even over there, even though it's not l'skuni zvicha, they could send them packing. And another version of the Gemara says, no, that wasn't our question. The question was in general, can we split it up? And then we say that no, you're not split up. It's only if a guy's a glutton that eating too much, you can send them packing. Then we said regarding if someone encounters another person on this Pesach, and this is going to be what we can discuss in the next Daf, is that the monies that he gets from him is going to be chulun. Whereas if someone sells his oil and shlam, he hasn't done anything, and the money's going to be for nedava, and that's a penalty. That even that little extra that he's paying more than what the value is, you don't say it's a gift, and you say it's part of the payment, which we penalize it because he's not supposed to buy someone else's carbon, and therefore the carbon remains by the first person. The second person loses his money. Thank you to any time for hosting us.
I really know.